Hi, this is Sarah Gross with YourMarketingProfessor.com. Today in this video we're going to be talking about what is the marketing concept. There's three basic components of the marketing concept. One is that the whole company is working together to provide long-term, not just short-term, but long-term customer satisfaction at a profit. That seems pretty simplistic. I think if you would tell a kindergartner that, you know what, one of the core principles of business is that the whole company should work together to provide long-term customer satisfaction at a profit, I think they'd all be shaking their heads, yes, that sounds like a reasonable thing. Well, let's take a closer look at this. Well, what really does this mean? What are the characteristics of organizations using the marketing concept? One of the first things is that an organization using the marketing concept or implementing the marketing concept is driven by research. They let this research and the understanding of the marketplace drive their decisions. In other words, they're not making these decisions in isolation based upon personal opinions, what their CEO wants, what they think the marketplace wants, but based upon actual data or insights or continuous research. It doesn't mean that every single decision they do a full-blown market research study, but they're continually trying to get input. And they have to make those decisions on how much money to spend on that research on a case-by-case basis. But at a high level, they're definitely research-driven. They work together. They're not doing things to protect individual turf or to make it easier for themselves or for their department, but they're working together, realizing that if they do work together to satisfy the long-term customer needs, and that's another component, putting customer needs first, and having an eye on the long term. So if they do those things, if they don't just make short-term decisions, but rather also have an eye on the long term, which means they might forego a short-term sale or recommend a competitor's product because it's the right thing to do in the short term, ultimately, if you do the right thing, it comes back and you are benefited in the long term. Cliches don't become cliches because they're not true. It's because generally they are true. And a couple ones that come to mind, that we've all heard is it's a small world and what comes around goes around. And this goes hand in hand with this. And there's many, many, many people personally that have been successful just doing those basic things of making sure that they're putting others' needs first, doing the right thing. And it's a very simplistic concept, but it's also very, very powerful even in business. Some people think that business means being ruthless or trying to trick or otherwise be underhanded in how they achieve success. Ultimately, true success, long-term success, is built on a foundation of trust, and you can't fake trust. You have to earn trust, and the way to do that is to come to decisions and make strategy decisions that are going to be beneficial for all parties involved. And that means your customers and your company and your employees' needs all are brought together when you are coming up with what is it that we are as a company, where are we going, and what are we doing on a case-by-case basis. So if this is pretty easy concept to understand, is it really easy to implement? And are all companies doing this? Well, we probably have worked at organizations or worked for people or been in departments that we'd say, no, they're not implementing that perfectly, or they're not even close. Well, if it's so easy a concept to understand, why is it not always easy to implement? Well, let's take a look at each one of the core concepts, the three components. The first one's the whole company. So is it easy to get everyone to work together? I mean, you can get any team you've been involved with. Once you get a few people together, it's not unheard of to have issues getting people to mesh. And there's personality conflicts, there's various goals that conflict. So just the whole company, that's difficult. And going along with this concept is that people can be functionally oriented or focus on what's best for them. And then there's company processes and incentives may be not aligned with what they are really wanting those people to do. People perform based upon how they're evaluated and on what incentives they're given. So you have to look at those factors as well. Long-term customer satisfaction. Well, one thing is that's not always easy as it sounds to truly determine what customer needs are. You can have very sophisticated market researchers out there who follow best practices, and you might not come up with the right results. And customers a lot of times can't verbalize it. So that's not as easy as it sounds. Then there's this trade-off of needs versus profit. If you ask customers what they want, they probably would name just about all the features and benefits and functionality of whatever product category you want for free in their ideal world. Well, you're not going to make a profit there. And companies, this term profit's not an evil thing. Companies have to make money. They have to be profitable to stay in business and to be around for the long term. So profit is a good thing. You have to balance what customer segments you're going after, what needs you can fulfill at a reasonable cost and charge a reasonable price to hit your profit goals. And then short-term versus long-term. This goes hand in hand with that discussion about sometimes you have to make decisions in the short term that aren't going to be as beneficial to your company, knowing that in your long term that you will come out ahead. And again, at a profit goes to the discussion we just had about customer needs versus profit cannot always be in line. It's a very competitive marketplace, so you're not operating in isolation. You have competitors out there trying to get your customers, coming up with creative strategies to meet needs at a lower price, and you can't predict anything with certainty. There's just things that are happening in the marketplace that are very uncontrollable. Japan having an earthquake, and suppliers being out of business. Those types of things ultimately beyond your control. So this concludes our lesson on what is the marketing concept. For more information, watch the next lesson and/or visit YourMarketingProfessor.com. I'm Sarah Gross. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing the next video.